What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Broadway Joel, the voice of Dominican boxing. This is going to be a very interesting live. It is Hector Luis Garcia fight week. He will be fighting, pay-per-view star Gervonta Tank Davis this Saturday. I'm very, very, very excited for the fight. I will be there live. I will be there in DC watching it live. So I'm excited for that. I also will be joined by Boxing Writers of Association, the vice president of the Boxing Writers Association, Jake Donovan. He will be joining me. We will discuss the Hector Luis Garcia fight against Gervonta Davis. We will also discuss the year-end awards, whether it be Fight of the Year, Fighter of the Year, upset of the year, so on and so forth. We will be discussing all of that. He will be joining me about a half hour or so. But again, today we're mostly going to be talking about this Hector Luis Garcia fight. I am super duper excited about it. A lot of people saying like he has absolutely no shot against Tank. And listen, I'm not crazy. I understand that it's a tall task to order. I understand that this is a hard fight. Tank a punch, man. Tank is faster, younger, harder punching, already more accustomed to the weight. Like, I understand why all this is going on. But we also got to remember Hector Luis Garcia is a good fighter. You know what I'm saying? Moving up in weight, he is the taller fighter. So we'll see if he can somehow control the distance with his jab or whatever with his feet. We'll see. I honestly don't know how this fight is going to play out. This is my prediction to how the fight is going to play out. And Montas, I see you sent me a message on the gram. I'm obviously live, so I'll check it out afterwards. Unless it's important, let me know in the chat if it's like something real important you want me to check out. But yeah, damn, I lost track of what I was saying. Oh, so this is how I see the fight playing out. So I see the fight playing out like it being a little bit boring the first 4 or 5 rounds. I feel like, joined by Jake Donovan. I was joined a lot earlier than I thought he was going to. Jake, how you doing, my brother?
What's up, Joel, man? Happy New Year.
Oh, what happened to your arm, bro?
Oh, I thought I told you, man. Yeah, I messed up my left arm, so I'm on the disabled list for the next few weeks.
Yeah, you forget you older now. You trying to do
old. Yeah, you're not say old. You can just say old. You can go ahead.
Yeah, you forget, man. You try to do these things that you used to do when you was in your 20s.
Right.
Your body will remind you not.
Yeah, I love to say that it's been like, an intense workout or I got into a fight or something, but I think it's just being at my computer, leaning to my left, and it's just, put too much of a strain on my shoulder. So, emphasis on old, man. It just, sucks.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yep.
Well, I was just talking about this fight coming up this Saturday. Obviously, it's a big let me fix this. Yeah, there we go. There's a big moment for my community. Hector Luis Garcia versus Gervonta Davis. I know you're picking Tank, so don't worry. No, you're not.
Nope.
You're picking. Wait a minute.
I'm in full support of my man, Broadway Joel. I'm rolling with Hector Luis Garcia.
No. I mean, you can support who you want, but who do you think is gonna win is a different thing.
I'll save that for the end.
All right. So, let's start off with Gervonta Davis case. Is that okay? Are you allowed to talk about that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yep. What details do you know about the just this previous case that he caught? What was exactly on the police report? Did he choke her? Did he slap her? Did he slam on the ground? What was on the report that he went to jail for?
So going strictly by the report, both parties acknowledged there was an argument. According to the report, there was an altercation. It was nothing where like he was tossing around the house or anything like that. The only blow was that he supposed. I still don't understand why it was explained this way. And even talking to the spokesperson at the Parkland Police Department, they explained it this way as well, that he hit her with a closed hand type slap. They said it in the report. They said it verbally. And I said, I'm like, a closed hand type slap is a punch.
It's a punch, yeah.
So if a boxer punches someone, that's pretty serious. Like, well, it wasn't a punch, it was a slap. That was the way it was described. I'm like, all right. So that was the whole thing. Like supposedly this took place like I believe it was around 1:30, Eastern time. And then the cops arrived a little less than 90 minutes later. I guess they did whatever they had to do there. They took him in. Domestic violence, anytime it's reported, it's must arrest. It's not must convict, but it is must arrest. So they placed him under arrest. He was held overnight, bailed out the next day. He was released on $1,000 bond the next day. And then they charged him with one count of battery with causing bodily harm.
Okay.
So that was Tuesday. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get my date straight. That was Tuesday the 27th.
Mm-hmm.
So when that incident happened, he was released Wednesday the 28th. Was entered into the court system. According to information I've received, documents I've received, I know the victim, the mother of one of his daughters, posted something on Friday saying that it didn't happen the way she described it in the 911 call, that she called the cops in a moment of hysteria.
Yeah.
And that it was an argument. She acknowledged they did have an argument. They were both at fault, but that her life was never in danger. That was one thing, supposedly on 911 call, she called up saying he's going to kill me, that, she felt threatened. And then she recanted all that in a statement that she posted on Instagram on Friday. Looking at the court records, this is still an active case, obviously, because even though she's recanted, they still have to, not go through the motions, but they still have to prosecute or whatever.
Yeah.
Pursue it if there is something to be pursued, because it's common, even in cases where like someone is, assaulted, it's common for them to recant. They don't want to testify, but the authorities still have to do their job. So, and I'm not even saying that that's the case here. Maybe it is a case where there was just an argument and nothing happened. But on December 28th, the same day that Gervonta Davis was released on $1,000 bond, there's a signed sworn statement from the victim, the alleged victim, I should say, saying that it didn't happen as it played out. So they both seem to agree that it was an argument and it didn't escalate beyond, anything further. But the Parkland, police, Broward County authorities, they're still pursuing the case. They when they gave him the bond, they said there was probable cause to proceed with the case. So whether or not she cooperates, the authorities are still going to proceed with the case either until they find out there's no case to, look into, at which case it'll get dismissed, or it's going to go to trial. For now, he had to enter a not guilty plea, so it's still an active court case.
Well, does he have any chance of being found guilty if there's no testimony from the victim?
Yes. Yeah, it is. So again, in domestic violence cases, it's common for, the victim to back off and say they don't want to testify.
Okay.
The police still have, if they had probable cause to arrest them and then hold them until he posted bonds, that, that's their probable cause to proceed with the case. Maybe it gets to a point where they just don't have the evidence and they don't proceed further. Maybe they have physical proof that something did take place. That's up to the authorities to
and there's been no reports of injuries, of scratches, bruises, blood,
the only thing
broken, anything.
The only thing in the police report was they noticed there was an abrasion inside the upper, I think, right lip, I want to say. But no, other than that, there was no indication that like he just beat the shit out of her or anything.
Okay.
So it seemed like if we're going by the report, then there was an argument and then he hit her. That's according to the report.
What did you make of?
It was an argument and there was nothing physical. So that's, it's tough. You don't know what to believe. I just chose, I reported when he was arrested because that was what came up. I reported based on the police report. And then my third story was when she wrote her statement. So I've just done my due diligence there. It's not my job to speculate what took place. None of us were there.
No, you're just reporting what was on the report. What did you make of Gervonta posting a picture of his shirt being all ripped up, spit on his face? There was a woman, which I'm assuming is the alleged victim, tearing up the apartment. What did you make of that?
It was a weird, like there's some stuff. It's like, and I hate to put it this way, but he's been in enough incidents where you just got to let your lawyers handle this. I get he wants to clear his name. He felt like he had this big long post. I know he deleted it from Instagram, but I was reading it like in all caps or whatever. And I'm like, it felt like a guy who truly, he felt like he was alone. Like he had to fend for himself. That's what I got out of it. And that was his way of trying to clear his name. I get it. He was angry. You spend the night in jail. That can't be pleasant, for anyone. So he's furious about that. He insisted that nothing happened beyond an argument, which he always acknowledged that, according to him, it was a peaceful day. He was watching Frozen with his daughter. And then all of a sudden, everything just went ballistic. And, then he got stuck in a situation where he's got to clear his name. I just thought it was weird that it went from, like, he posted all that. He's basically saying, this is what she did, while he was in jail, that supposedly she took the daughter's feces and, rubbed it on his toothbrushes. Yeah, I know. It's nasty.
Yeah.
And you're looking at it, it's like, I don't want to see this stuff. But
yeah,
I get it. He's trying to, give us a picture of, like, this is what he's going through, that he's, he's saying he's the victim here. And then the next day the statement came out. And then as I'm reading the police report earlier this week, I saw that, like I said, the day that Gervonta Davis posted bond, she had already submitted a statement saying that the incident didn't happen as she initially described it to police, and that she did not want to proceed with the case, and there would be no regrets if the county drops the case, which, again, that hasn't happened yet. It's still ongoing.
Man, that's interesting. How much do you think this is going to play a distraction in this fight? That in the middle of camp, well, not in the tail end of camp, you get locked up, and now you having all kinds of stress, and now you're having a tweet and Instagram post explaining yourself. It's time you're not focusing on your opponent. When Garcia, he's just been at it at the gym since go.
Look, I don't have any kind of relationship with Tank.
Okay.
I can't try to get inside his mind, but he's always struck me as the type. It's like, once his mind is locked into something, there's no turning back for him. I'd have to imagine those 3 days were stressful. I've said this, elsewhere, Lefty and I would do our show every Saturday, that I was very disappointed with Showtime and PBC. Like, the only statement that really came out was the alleged victim statement. Like, they allowed that to speak for the situation. But once that took place, that gave permission for the event to proceed. So I think in Gervonta's mind, once the event just moved forward, he's 100% locked in. Weirdly, I don't know, like, just going by the media workout today, he just seemed happy-go-lucky. Like, he's just – the thing I loved about when this card was first announced was that the amount of love he wanted to show all the people who paved the way for him to get to where he is. That's why there's so many DC guys, the Peterson brothers. Neither one of them probably should be fighting, but they're both on the card. That's his way of giving back. He's got young guys on the card. So, and that's the mentality. Like, when I saw him walk in today, it's like he's looking at the gym and he was trying to recall if he actually fought there as an amateur. It's like he's all the way back. Like, this is where he wants to be. This is his happy place. So a week ago, I think maybe it would have affected him a little bit, but I think he's all the way where he needs to be mentally going into this weekend.
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. I'm disappointed. I was hoping you was going to say he was distracted a little bit, but I'll take it. I want to get your opinion on the 3 undercard fights, and then we'll talk about the main event. We'll start off with the opening undercard fight as far as the pay-per-view with Rashidi Ellis versus the Argentinian Villa. Yep. Roman Villa. Yes, I'm sorry. Couldn't think of his name. Roman Villa is, I don't think, like, this isn't a showcase fight. Villa can actually fight. He's a good fighter. Now, I'm higher on Rashidi Ellis than I am Villa, but I don't think, I think this is being, I don't want to say promoted, but talked about as if this is just a showcase fight. Right. And I'm like, I don't think that this is how it's going to go. What's your opinion on that fight?
So I will say, of the 4 pay-per-view fights, and I know you're going to disagree because I know your team Hector Luis Garcia all the way, but from an odds perspective, this is the one fight that it's the closest. I mean, Rashidi is a significant favorite, but it's the closest in terms of odds. So, Villa, he had that win. He beat who's it, Boca Chica, I believe.
Boca Chica on Showbox.
Yeah, last year. So that put him in the mix. Rashidi only fought one. That's my concern with, like, not so much Tank. Tank's always going to find a way to win. But, like, Boots, I'd have to imagine he's going to find a way to win. But, like, you look at the A side of this pay-per-view, the 4 guys who fought have only fought 3 times in 2022, a combined 9 rounds. Rashidi Ellis only fought 1 round in 2022 after not fighting at all in 2021. His last fight before that, I think, was when he beat Alexis Rocha on in his last fight with Golden Boy, then sitting out all year waiting out his contract. So, he's only fought 1 round in more than 2 years. That,
and you fighting this aggressive, kind of Mayorga kind of style fighter. If you're not sharp with a guy like that, you may just get caught with something.
Exactly.
Yeah, especially, like, he punches from such awkward angles where it's not necessary. Like, to the naked eye, you may be like, oh, this guy's, like, wild and this, but sometimes that works for certain fighters. It worked for Mayorga. It worked for Maidana. Yeah. It worked for, just quite a few fighters who throw wide and where people go, oh, he's going to get picked apart, and it just doesn't happen. So if he's not sharp, and this guy starts landing his shots, who knows what can happen.
Yeah.
This is the fight, obviously, besides the main event, that I'm most excited to see.
I'm with you on that. And again, like I'm not comparing Rashidi Ellis in any way to the late great Vernon Forrest, but Vernon Forrest's kryptonite was Ricardo Mayorga for whatever reason. Like he was, this smooth boxer, boxer puncher that he just couldn't figure out Mayorga, especially, he got caught in that first fight. Some maybe argue that he won the second fight, but obviously he had, difficulties with that style. And
for sure,
like Rashidi Ellis is not 100% on his game. This is a style that could expose that. So
yeah, for sure. I'm really looking forward to this fight.
The thing I do like about it, I'm not big on eliminators, but I know there was a lot of talk about why Rashidi Ellis is not fighting Boots. I do like the fact that they're creating a path to where these guys could fight later this year and with the stakes raised. Not that it's just an eliminator or they're fighting each other for the interim title, but Boots could have a title, could be elevated to full champ, and then Rashidi with the win on Saturday could be fighting for that,
Oh, so this is for IBF eliminator?
I don't know. It's not a final eliminator, but it's an IBF sanctioned eliminator. I think it's going to be for the number 2 position. Boots is number 1, obviously fighting for the interim title. So there is a path to where these guys could be fighting later this year.
Okay, I like that. I see. That's something I didn't know.
Right. And that's the thing. I don't like, when fights are just thrown on cards and there's no purpose. It's just like, oh, this is a really good matchup. I like fights where it's leading to something. And we have at least 2 fights on this undercard where we can kind of see the next step.
All right. Speaking of fights that don't mean anything, Damon Nicholson versus Demetrius Andrade. I look at this as a mismatch. I'm not calling Damon Nicholson a bum, but it's just, I just think there's levels to it. He lost to Edgar Berlanga, got dropped 4 times. I think Andrade is, 2-3 steps ahead of Edgar Berlanga. This is his first fight back on PBC. What do you think about this fight? And what do you look at? Because I'm pretty sure you're going to pick Andrade to win.
Yeah.
How do you look at that? The Andrade moving forward after this fight? Like, who do you see his fighting next?
Right. So now going back to, Rashidi Ellis being on this card, at least we know where it's going to lead to. I feel like with Andrade, we're still at this is a fight. He's back in the ring. I don't know what's next. He's rolling with PBC now. Presumably, he would get someone like Charlo, maybe the winner of Plant Benavides, David Morrell. Like those fights are now within his reach now that he's taking control of his career and he's doing business with PBC. But the fact is, we don't know what's next for this guy. And all the decisions that he and I guess his former management team have made over the past 2 years, I'm not going to predict this guy's future. So as far as the present goes, look, I'm with you. Damon Nicholson, very nice guy. I appreciate everything he's overcome. I know he had issues with his kidneys, come back, making a living, providing for his family. He is the type of guy, though, he does fall well short once he steps up. Yeah. So, and Demetrius Andrade is, I would consider an elite boxer. So
I got Andrade winning by decision. How do you see it?
Same way. Yeah, I think he shouldn't lose very many rounds. Again, he hasn't fought in close to 14 months. I was actually ringside for his last fight when he knocked out Jason Quigley in 2 rounds. So a rare early night for Andrade. So not only is he inactive, but his last fight only went, I think, maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So, could maybe see a round or 2 of ring rust and then he'll get going. I just found it weird. He's already talked to reporters saying that, he's mad that John Ryder is getting the shot at Canelo. It's like, well, John Ryder took the fight that you rejected. He took it because there was an interim WBO title at stake. Where even if we don't, we can pretend that Canelo would have fought Andrade if Andrade won that title, but Andrade at least would have been in positions where I got this belt, you have to fight me. If you're not fighting me, then you can go ahead and say this guy's done for me.
The thing is with Andrade's career is he's ruined it by just focusing on trying to get a Canelo fight his entire career, as opposed to, hey, I don't blame somebody trying to get the biggest payday. I'm not mad at him wanting to fight Canelo. All right, you want to fight Canelo? I can't get that fight. All right, what's up with Charlo? What's up with Benavides? What's up with Munguia? What's up with Triple G? What's up with, you name the fighters. You have had offers to fight some of these guys, and you just haven't taken the fight. I just wish he wasn't so narrow-minded on trying to get this Canelo fight. It's a little ridiculous, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's why I said I found it weird that, of all places, he popped up with PBC, because those 2 sides have had a lot to say about one another. It's been very public about, why Andrade hasn't fought Jamal Charlo in the past 2 years. They both had a lot to say over which side was, screwing over who. So it was just weird. It's like, that's why I don't understand why these guys are so quick to throw someone else under the bus in boxing, because at some point you're going to work with these people. So then you wind up washing your face with piss and just pretending like none of that stuff ever happened.
Yeah, you better off not burning the bridge.
Exactly.
L-Dub Boxing, shout out to my man Boog.
Yep.
It says Nicholson is number 7 in the WBA. With a win, Andrade can take that ranking and fight Morrell next. So what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, so again, there are, like, he's with PBC. We can speculate about all the fights that should be within his reach. I just, I need to see Demetrius Andrade. This is his first smart business decision that he's made. I need to see this become the trend, and not like, okay, he finally signed with PBC, but then, what's next? Is he going to rematch, Masic Seletsky or whatever? So as long, but no, Boog, I mean, he nails it, man. And Boog is the guy, like, once these ratings come out, like, he'll tell you this is going to happen, and this is why it's going to happen. So again, as long as the sanctioning bodies do their job too, that would be nice that, Andrade can create a path to fight, Morrell. I think all these guys like Morrell, the winner of Benavidez and Plant, they'll all eventually get upgraded to like full champion. I don't think Canelo maybe fights one of them, I think, but I don't even think he's going to fight someone like Morrell. So we could see Morrell being upgraded and Andrade fighting for a legit title. So he can get that championship without actually, fighting Canelo. But that's the thing for Andrade. It's bizarre that he's been a pro for 14 years. He's a U.S. Olympian. He fought for U.S. in 2008 Beijing. 2-division champion, has never faced anyone who has held the title.
Or has become a world champion after
14 years. Yeah, never faced anyone. Never faced a former, current, or a future world champion.
That's almost insane.
Yeah, that has to be. I'm not going to say it's a record, but for someone of his pedigree, I can't, honestly, off the top of my head, cannot think of anyone else that fits that bill.
For sure. I wanted to ask you, as far moving on to the next fight, Boots versus Karen, and I cannot pronounce his last name.
Yeah. I think it's Karen Kuchazian. So
Karen Kuchazian.
Not quite fighting the Karens.
All right. I'll be honest. I'm a hardcore, but I'm not that much of a hardcore. I've never seen this guy fight. I'll be honest with you.
Him once, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So in that one fight you've seen him, how good is he? Does he pose any kind of a threat towards Boots Ennis?
So maybe it's a little unfair because outside of I'm not even sure I would pick. Honestly, I'd probably pick Boots to beat any welterweight in the world. Maybe I might stop short of Spence. Right now, I might pick him to beat anyone. I mean, talent-wise, he clearly passes the eye test. He's the youngest, freshest, guy. The only one I would stop short is maybe Virgil Ortiz, would give him, some problems. But I wouldn't pick him outright to beat Spence. But I would, it wouldn't surprise me to see him beat anyone at welterweight. I guess that's where I'm going with this. So to say that this guy Chikadzian doesn't have a shot, maybe it's a little unfair to him, but this is a mismatch for a good reason. But, Boots, he wanted the fight with Spence. He tried to get the IBF to enforce it, especially once he got wind that Spence wasn't fighting Terrence Crawford. He was the first one. Even before Stanionis tried to get to the WBA, Boots told the IBF, look, I'm the mandatory. He hasn't made a mandatory since 2018. I should be next. So this is the compromise that he's fighting for the interim title. So this is why we're getting this fight. I really wish once Boots found out that negotiations kind of stalled with Spencer Crawford, I wish he would have went to the WBO and said, can you make me he was the number one contender with them too. So, that would have, to me, sent more of a message if he pursued a fight with Terrence Crawford instead of, fighting for this interim title.
No, that would have been better because let's just say he beats Crawford.
Right.
Then you have the opportunity going back to Showtime and going, hey, let's just do the undisputed. Exactly. We're on the same side of the street. There's no negotiating. I work with Espinoza. You work with Al Heyman. We'll work this out. And boom.
Yeah. Or even if you don't get the undisputed, like say, if Spence was locked into a fight with Keith Thurman, if you have that belt, you people can't say, well, there's no reason to fight you anymore. Yeah. Because that line for Spence gets longer and longer, and he's not going to fight all these guys. He's eventually going to outgrow the division or just decide to move up, one or the other. So that I would have liked to see him, but I guess this is the next best thing for Boots, that he's getting the interim. If he doesn't get Spence, if Spence does decide to let go of a belt, then Boots becomes, IBF champ. And then, the guys, they really can't duck him. They can't say, oh, there's no reason to fight you. You're high risk, low reward. Now you got a reward.
Oh, so if he wins this, he will be the IBF interim champion.
Correct.
Errol Spence has tweeted out that he has an April date, did not bring out an opponent.
Right.
Any chance that we can squeeze Boots in there? Let's just say he comes out clean, knocks him out in 2 rounds, no cuts, no bruises, and go, any chance we can squeeze Boots in April?
I would say any dream fight. There seems to be paperwork that says he has to fight Keith Thurman first. He was supposed to fight Stanionis, and then they got the WBC and the WBA to get together and agree that the WBC mandatory would go first. So they haven't come out and said it, but if he's going to hold on to all his titles, he would have to fight Thurman, and then the winner of Stanionis Ortiz. Boots is probably third in that equation, unfortunately. So, but the sanctioning bodies could just decide who cares who's next. You know, these mandatories are overdue. So that's I just feel like Boots is going to wind up becoming champion by default. I know that's not what he wants, but I do hope it's means to keep him active. I tried to get that out of him. They had a undercard conference call last week. You know, I asked him that question, but it's just these guys are a bit powerless in that regard. It's like he's PBC adjacent, but he's not a PBC fighter, but he is a Showtime fighter. So hopefully they have the type of 2023, you know, budget and schedule to where this guy could be active, because it's criminal. They only fought 4 minutes last year.
Okay. That's interesting. What has happened with the IBF? The IBF used to be very strict with their mandatories. I feel like they haven't been as strict and as heavy-handed as they used to be in the past.
Yeah, they're really picking their spots, especially with this one. It's like I still don't understand when Kudratio was the IBF mandatory. When he fought Cody Crowley, why that wouldn't just transfer. Like, I get that he lost his right to become the mandatory. I never understood why Cody Crowley wouldn't just become the mandatory challenger.
Yeah, that was weird. That was weird. Right.
So that's, you know, I mean, that kind of gave Spence an out. Like, okay, you know, maybe his IBF mandatory resets. But the fact is, he still hasn't made one since 2018. The only mandatory he's made since then was, I guess, Danny Garcia was regarded as a mandatory when he fought.
Yeah, but like, how does the WBC get to skip the line? Right. Yeah, I that doesn't make any sense to me. If I beat Boots, I email the IBF and tell them, why don't you talk to the WBC, explain to them they're literally the last sanctioning body to have a mandatory fulfilled, and we're the last sanctioning body to have a mandatory fulfilled. So we're next.
Exactly. And Thurman was named WBC mandatory after Boots. Boots became the mandatory after he beat Castillo Clayton last May. Or Virgil Ortiz was the WBC mandatory at the time, or at least he was the WBC #1 contender at the time, if I'm not mistaken. Thurman wasn't named WBC until after the fact, when Virgil went the WBA route. So any way you look at it, Boots should have been next, and really Stanionis before that. So the fact that Stanionis has stood down twice, and then they got the WBC to convince the WBA to stand down. It's just weird how, like, you know, the sanction bodies, when they finally work together, it's almost like it's for the weirdest situations. But I'm with you. Like, we always praise the IBF. They enforce their rules. They create these box offs. But then when it gets to certain fights like this, then all of a sudden it's like, you know, too many people all of a sudden, you know, factoring into the equation.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Mandatory either. Boots is probably the very best mandatory, no matter what sanction body you look at.
Yeah, he's ranked, I think, in the top 3 in all 4 sanctioning bodies. So
like, not even Walter. Like, if you could think of any mandatory challenger in boxing, he'd have to be talent-wise.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. All right, obviously you're picking him to win by knockout, but now let's go to the main event. My man Hector Luis Garcia versus Gervonta Tank Davis. We have mentioned already, Tank has a fight. Tank was recently arrested. We talked about the case and all the possible distractions that may have caused. He also has a fight lined up with Ryan Garcia already, and and he may be somewhat overlooking Hector. And this fight is also in his hometown, adjacent, kind of. So he may have some distractions there as well. What's your opinion on the fight stylistically, and who do you have winning?
So I said this when they announced that it was a quote unquote done deal for Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia to fight each other. I was like, my hope was, okay, Tank finally goes back to Showtime and fights whoever the hell he wants. You know, he can fight me if he wants. He can break my other arm. You know, as long as it's on Showtime, I don't care. You know, stay busy, fight, then get to Ryan, and then we expected Ryan to take whatever, you know, the worst possible opponent that the zone would approve.
Yeah.
So when he picked Hector Luis Garcia, like, look, he's a big favorite and for good reason. Hector's coming up in weight. Tank is one of the best fighters in the world, so he's always going to be a favorite pretty much no matter who he fights.
For sure.
But stylistically, I was a little surprised that he picked him. Like, Hector is coming like more confident than ever. He was in the conversation for Fighter of the Year. he won't get it, but he's definitely a top 5 candidate for 2020.
Hey, did you watch Showtime?
Yes, I did.
He got an award.
He did.
He got Fighter of the Year. That award is worth more than the boxing.
So he was a Fighter of the Year.
I know what you mean.
We're showing others, but I get it. But yeah, there's far worse guys. Tank could have easily cherry picked anyone he wanted and probably got away with it. He could have picked anyone under the PBC banner. And I knew they were like, oh, well, whatever. He's fighting Ryan Garcia next, so who cares? So as far as his options go, I think this is, pretty close to the best that he could have chosen. So I did give him credit for that.
No, he gets full credit. He gets credit.
Yeah, it's at least no worse than a trap fight. This is like, even if he wins, he can, like I said, we saw it against Pitbull Cruz. He injured his hand. He was down for a minute. He can, Hector Cruz can cut him. There's a lot of shit that can go wrong in this fight that would, ruin business for Tank in the immediate future. So again, I do give him credit for taking this fight. I get why he's a big favorite. Maybe the odds are justified, but it's not like this is a complete, run over. He's not fighting a guy, Hector Luis Garcia does not know how to lose.
Yeah. So. No, he's a good fighter. The guy, he won 3 silver medals in the Pan American Games. Yep. And in the finals, he lost twice to Andy Cruz and once to Robesi Ramirez. So no shame in not beating those guys. Then in the Olympics, he beat the shit out of some guy, was robbed. I thought he was robbed. Everybody, the whole crowd was booing. Right. Then the fight was named on the list as one of the ones that was corrupted. Yep. He got dealt a really bad hand there. So he's a very experienced fighter. A lot of international amateur fights. Yeah. Beat Colbert back when a lot of people thought Colbert was going to be a good thing. Yep. Beats Gutierrez in the same fashion he beats Colbert. Both, I think I gave Colbert 1 round in their fight, and I gave Gutierrez 2 rounds in their fight. So the guy is winning and winning at a dominant fashion with a lot of experience. Yeah. I listen, I'm not an idiot. I understand why Tank's the favorite, and that's why I thought you were gonna pick him, but we'll get to who you're gonna pick in a bit. I understand he's younger, faster. He already has been acclimated to the 135-pound division, hits harder, more experience in the pros. I understand why he's the favorite. I just think that there's a lot going on. There's a lot of noise around his camp. Yep. And that may open up his, when you get to this level, little distractions like that can mean a big thing. Now, if you were fighting, I'm trying to think of something, Nakatani or Kome, and you having these distractions, cool. But when you're fighting somebody like the caliber of Hector Luis Garcia, somebody who has been in Vegas from before he even got the fight. A lot of people don't know that. He flew after his win against Gutierrez, flew to Dominican Republic, went on a nice little vacation, spent time with his wife and his kids, flew back to U.S. to train with Bob Santos in Vegas, and was staying ready in case a fight came, and boom, this fight came. So it's not, you're not catching the guy sleeping. The guy was already in shape and ready. So how do you see this fight playing out?
It's funny you bring that. I'm going to go back to the things that I was disappointed about. We asked about distractions. Weirdly, I think whatever took place last week, obviously aside from Tank having to spend the night in jail, which is awful for anyone. Yeah. Hector Luis Garcia, I think, was affected a little bit more because his team just seemed genuinely, unless they were completely dismissing, blowing me off, they seemed completely in the dark for 3 days. Like they were asking, is this fight happening? Obviously, he's going to train, he's not going to break stride in training, but even that little bit of mental doubt can affect you. Like, it's like you're waiting for, I'm training. When are they going to call saying the fight was off? Then maybe you're not going 100% the whole time. So I guess he had enough time to get past that. But that part of everything that took place last week really annoyed me. I hope it doesn't affect him going into this week. I don't know if it's going to matter. I do think he's going to provide some rough moments for Tank. I think Tank is eventually going to settle down, figure him out. So now we'll get to my prediction.
Yeah.
We'll figure him out. I don't know if he's going to knock him out. Maybe, he has to go 12 rounds. I do think he's just too talented. I think he's going to figure him out and find a way to win for close to the hometown crowd. Hector, I can see him, not that he fights anything like Pitbull Cruz, but providing some of those, uncomfortable moments, except I think he's going to do it early, more so than whereas, Pitbull kind of came on late in that fight. Yeah. I think, Hector can make a statement early, force Tank to adjust. Once Tank adjusts, then we're going to see, the Tank Davis that many people believe is among the top 8, 10, 12 fighters in the world.
Yeah. Have you had a chance to talk to Bob Santos and Hector?
I've talked about Santos, plenty of times.
Isn't it just crazy how confident, both of them, the way they talk to me when I'm on the phone with them, it's like a foregone conclusion that they're gonna win. I'm like, yo, I was expecting a little bit, it's a tough fight. They're just like, it almost amazes me how confident both of them are. Have you gotten that sense as well?
Yeah, Hector's already making plans for an all Garcia fight. He Tank, and he's going to fight. He's convinced he's going to fight Ryan Garcia sometime this spring.
Yeah, no, he's just so confident. I'm just like, I'll be telling him, I'm like, man, I told him, I was like, you ready for this fight? He's like, bro, he goes, I wish the fight was tomorrow.
Yeah.
He goes, I'm ready now. I don't need that. This was like 2-3 weeks ago. He's like, I don't need these extra weeks. I wish the fight was tomorrow. I'll be ready. Like, I'm ready to go. I'm not nervous. I'm anxious. Like, I want it to happen now. I'm like, he was getting me excited just how confident he was. That may be, to his detriment. I don't know if he's like, overconfident, but he came across as very, very confident. And I wanted to ask you to see if you had that same experience from both of them. I'm looking forward to this fight.
No, the thing I love about him, just going back to his breakout fight when he wasn't supposed to fight Chris Colbert, he jumped in when Roger Gutierrez, caught COVID. But he didn't even have he was still with Ismael Salas at the time, and Bob was the fill-in, not the fill-in, but he's always the one that's done work, but he's the one who took the corner that night because Ismael wasn't available. So it's like you're in the biggest fight of your career on short notice against the guy who's not normally in your corner on fight night, and still delivered the performance of a lifetime. To me, that's still the best, far and away his best performance.
No,
against a guy who's regarded as one of the best boxers. Who's a lot of people picked it as the upset of the year for 2022 as well. So he did all that under the, nothing about that was ideal for him, and he still rose to that level. So that tells me all you need to know about how he can overcome any situation. So now, of course, comes the hard part of having to go 12 rounds with someone like Gervonta Davis.
Yeah, no.
Mentally, he's someone I would never question going into.
No, I do worry because he does get hit. He's not like the slick kind of guy where I know he's not going to get touched or he can roll with punches. He does seem to get hit, and with Tank, that guy can crack.
Right.
But I do think he's crafty enough, and he does a lot of little things that I saw him spar on the day before. I saw him the 16th of December. It was the day before Martin Rivera.
Right.
I saw him spar in Vegas, and he was doing a lot of little crafty things where, if you're not paying attention enough, you don't see what he's doing. But I'm somebody who's watched boxing for a long time. I've seen a lot of sparring, a lot of fights in my entire life. And he does a lot of little things where he gets the other fighter to think that something else is going on or that he has control. Meanwhile, he has control the whole time. He's very, very crafty, and I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm rooting hard for him.
Yeah, one thing I'll say about Tank, he's not just some face first. His only chance is to knock you out. Obviously he has that concussive power, but he has shown where you can at least hang with him, on a boxing standpoint, up until he catches up to you and cracks you. His skills are what gets him to that point where he can eventually knock you out. But someone like Hector Luis Garcia is probably, I'd say he's probably the best pure boxer that he's faced among the guys that he's faced in recent times. I think he's a better technical boxer than Rolly Romero, who had some success up until he got knocked out. He's a better boxer than this version of Leo Santa Cruz. Maybe Mario Barrios is a little bit, he's obviously a lot bigger too. But Tank hasn't blown out anyone. As he stepped up his competition, he's knocked him out except for Pitbull. But he's found a way to win every time. But it's not like he's pitching shutouts en route to knocking these guys out or winning.
Yeah, the way I see the fight going, I see the first 5 to 6 rounds being a little bit boring. I think Tank is going to be trying to read Garcia. Garcia is going to be pressing the action, but being careful. Obviously, it's a puncher, and he may win most of those early rounds. And then once Tank starts opening up 6th, 7th, 8th round, it really just depends how good Garcia's chin is, and also what can he actually hurt Tank.
Right.
I think that's where the fight really starts. I think the fight really starts around 6, 7, 8. Those that mid-round range, I think that's where we see, all right, can he avoid these punches? When he gets hit with them, can he take these punches?
Right.
And also, can he hurt Tank? Can he make Tank go, wait a minute, I don't want to just rush in. I don't like what he's giving me. Can he drop Tank? Can he knock him out? Who knows?
Yeah.
But he needs to show the fans and show the judges that I'm not just winning these rounds by, boxing and moving around, because he's not going to get a decision that way.
Right.
He has to hurt Tank. Make it clear, like, listen, guy's cut, he's bleeding. Yeah. I worry that he can't get a decision, but I'll be honest, it's hard for me to see it going to a decision.
I'm with you on that. Like, I've said I don't want to come in the show and say, Tank's gonna knock.
No, I know what you mean.
I do kind of get that sense that once Tank figures whatever tricks that Hector has, once he figures that out, I do believe that's going to change the pace of the fight, and he will catch up to him. And for all the reasons you mentioned, I don't think he's going to knock him out, but I do think maybe stop him on cuts or just, attrition or whatever.
Or probably corner or something.
Right, something to that effect. But again, I don't see this fight being a blowout at any point in the fight. Even like once Tank gets going, I do see Hector being competitive. Whether or not he pulls off the upset or, up until the time of the stoppage, or he has to settle for, a decision loss. I think he'll be competitive throughout all the way. And it's going to be up to Tank. So I think Tank, he'll have a lot of things to figure out, especially in the first half. So that's the stuff I look forward to is maybe not so much whether Hector can win, but like what he can do to just make anything uncomfortable as possible for Tank, or even just mess up his future business, even with the loss, like if he's not in a position to come right back in April.
Yeah.
So to me, that seems to be Hector. He has all the boxing skills, but just to make things as physically uncomfortable for Tank as possible.
Look, Hector comes out winning if he can make it to a decision and it's competitive.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a controversial decision.
Right.
He comes out winning no matter what. Obviously, the most he can come out winning is him winning himself, like where he gets a knockout. That's boom, that blows him up. That makes him top dog at lightweight. That makes him, a future star. Obviously that's the route where he can grow most, but absent of that, a competitive decision, possibly a controversial decision, is the best route he can go and where he can still benefit, move back down to 130. Hopefully Ray Vargas beats Oshaki Foster, and then boom, that's a unification opportunity, or who knows, Rakimov, maybe that's another opportunity for unifying. So he has options, and whichever way the fight goes to Saturday night, whether it be a loss or a decision or a win,
right?
Hopefully he comes out much better than he did going in.
Yeah, that's the only thing I don't want to see is him going in acting like he's playing with house money, because like you just mentioned, that no matter what happens, he has the option of going back down to 130. But I don't want that in his head. I don't want him to be like, well, fuck it. If I get knocked out, I still go defend my title. So
that's not the vibe he's giving me.
As much as possible. And then even if you do lose, go back as like, okay, well, I lost, but here's my chance, and I'll prove that I'm the best 130-pound fighter on the planet, which he may very well be.
Yeah, I mean that's not the vibe he gave me. He didn't give me that vibe. Like, if I lose, he was very much confident. I asked him what's his plans after he wins. He told me he's like he'll campaign at both weights, whichever opportunities presents himself where it's best for him financially, he'll go. He's just very confident, and I don't think he's going in with that loser's mentality. Like, hey, if I lose, this isn't a big deal. I'll just move back down. So I don't think we have to worry about that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that 100%. The only thing I will say, if he does go back down and weight, I have to check. I get confused with all these eliminators. I do believe he does have to fight Lamont Roach. That will be in his future. So he'll have to get a mandatory out of the way.
Well, he was the mandatory for Gutierrez, and that was in August.
Right. So those go every 9 months. Sometimes they let it stretch out to a year. But, we're assuming if, he's fighting this weekend, the earliest he's returning is April or May. And in PBC language, it might not be till, October. So. But hopefully 2023 changes, though.
Well, Lamont Roach is a good fighter.
Yes.
That's not a fight I'm against. And also, you got to remember, it's the WBA mandatory.
Yeah.
It's not like, if there's any sanctioning body that's very loosey-goosey with the mandatories, is the WBA. So,
and it's possible, like I said, if he makes enough of a name for himself, look, worst case that he loses, but he makes a name for himself, Maybe he fights Leo Santa Cruz, who's made it clear that he's fighting 130. So
yeah, and he's ranked in the WBO
so
at 130. Yes,
plenty of
right.
great opportunities for him to look good, win or loss on Saturday. So a lot of options. I don't know if he's going to get to Ray Vargas. I don't think Ray Vargas is going to beat O'Shaquie Foster. I don't know if anyone at 130 is going to beat O'Shaquie Foster. I'm sorry.
Really? You that high on him?
Yes, very much.
Okay.
I think he's the best boxer at 130. I would love to see him and Hector Luis Garcia. I think that.
Yeah, I go just based off resume. I'd say Hector's the best 130. You beat Colbert, and then in your next fight you beat Gutierrez. And it's not that you just not that they beat him. Right. How he beat them.
Yeah.
You lose one round and you drop Colbert to the point where you gotta have him running around, and then you beat Gutierrez. I scored that fight 10-2.
Yeah.
Just how you're dominating. And then I look at Shakur moved up, so I'm not going to count him.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Once he moved up, the division became wide open. There's a very strong argument that Garcia is the best junior lightweight.
Yeah, because I'm like Oscar Valdez. I thought he lost to Conceição, and he popped dirty. Yeah. Then he gets dominated and dropped by Shakur. Right. So we look at those last two performances, and we look at Hector's last two performances. How can you argue that Oscar's ahead of him? Yeah, he beat Burchell in an impressive fashion. I'll give him credit for that, but we that's ancient history in boxing. Is what you've done for me lately. And he hasn't done much lately.
Yeah, he fought once in 2022. He had the chance to prove that he could be right at the top by fighting Navarrete, but he's not even obviously I know he's injured, but no, he, like you said, Gomez, his last clear-cut win was Burchell. That was February is going to be 2 years for that. Hector Garcia, based on the 2022 he had and the departure of Shakur Stevenson from the division, the very strong argument that he's number one at 130 right now. I wouldn't argue that at all.
For sure. And I also think he's the best Dominican based off his resume. Based off his resume. I'm not saying he's the most talented, but based off his resume, there's no other Dominican that's matching him.
Yeah.
Even if you include the amateur resume, he's the best Dominican. There's no other Dominican that is as decorated in the amateur circuit as he is.
No, that's an excellent point. I think Pac-Man Rosa has a shot. I think he's going to come out of Thailand with the title. I think.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I think the Armstrong is very good. I've always felt he was the best, even better than TBE.
Yeah.
But I'm just we're both very big on Pac-Man. Maybe it's my own bias. I want to see him and Oscar Colasso fight. I think that's going to be a massive fight, for Dominican and Puerto Rico. But I think he's going to come out of Thailand with that title.
Well, the thing that worries me is the decisions in Thailand be atrocious, man. Yeah. That's what worries me about Mini. I know Mini Pac-Man can fight. I was just I told you I was just out in Vegas with Bob and his training crew, and they were all telling me how much he's improved. They're like, man, when he first came, he used to do this wrong, that wrong, and we corrected that and this and that, and they were all super confident about how much he's improved. Mini Pac-Man was telling me that since training with them, he's never had a six-pack. He was like, my whole life, I've never had a six-pack. Since training with them, I got a six-pack now. So it lets me know he's getting different type level of training. Right. They're correcting little mistakes that he was making. And he's also a very decorated amateur as well. Mini Pac-Man is. So I'm confident in his skills. It's just those damn decisions out in Thailand.
Yeah, I just like that he's been matched aggressively from the moment he turned pro. And just, coming out the gate fighting 10 rounds, like they always knew like a championship was in his immediate future, with the path of becoming a multi-division champ. So I do like that, for as big a year as, DR had in 2022, that it's carried over. Like, Pac-Man's getting a title shot. Hector Garcia is getting a massive payday this weekend and a great opportunity to really, increase his profile, especially with an upset. Puello should be getting a big fight.
Probably Rolly or Gary Antoine Russell.
Yeah, one of those I keep hearing that it's a good chance it's going to be Rolly. So
okay,
they brought it up at the WBA convention that he was fighting Gary Antoine Russell. I'm ready to write my story. I asked two different PBC people, like, no, that's cap. He's not fighting. One of them literally said that's cap. that fight's. I'm like, well, damn, what the hell's going on with Gary Antoine Russell? But at least it told me, okay, well, that narrows it down. So I would love a fight, Puello and Rolly. So.
And I think that's easy work for Puello. I no disrespect to Rolly. I just don't. If Jackson Mariñez can easily outbox you and dominate you, you're gonna move up and weight and fight Puello, who went to war with Akhmadov. You know what I'm saying? Like. I just don't see how you're a bigger puncher, more skilled than Akhmadov. Akhmadov was an Olympian, and that fight, I was there live for that fight.
Yeah.
I didn't know who won. Listen, I'm Dominican. I support my people. At the end, I was all on the edge of my seat. I did not know who won. If Akhmadov would have won it 7-5, I would not have complained. If Poirier would have won 7-5, cool. Like, it was one of those fights. A draw also would have been okay with me, but he pulled it off. It pulled it off, got the win. So you telling me he went through that and Rolly's gonna beat him? I can't see that.
Right. No, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I was hearing that fight may be on the Benavidez Plant undercard.
I've heard several options for that show. If that's one of them, there's like a bunch of undercard type fights that are just floating around in PBC verse, and I guess they're just waiting for some main events to hit the schedule so they can finally piece them together. But I can see that happening. Yeah, either that or just like I know Showtime has 2 shows in February. It won't be February 11th. Maybe it could land on February 25th. Maybe it lands on Plant Benavidez. Maybe it lands on the Spence undercard.
Yeah. I also heard De Los Santos may be on that Plant Benavidez card.
That one I did hear. I just had the fight in my head too. I did hear. Yeah, it's a pretty good fight if the fight pans out. So I don't. I can't run it because I got
I know who it is. I was hoping you can say it because I wasn't given permission to say who it is.
I'm in the same boat. I think I'll get screwed.
All right. All right.
I'm gonna write it and then I'm gonna text you and we're gonna reveal it together.
Cool. But for the fans watching who are punching their phone and TV and laptop, why we're not saying it, just know it's a good fight. You guys are gonna be very excited about it. That's all I can give you. I cannot give you any more. Got to remember, I say something, then these sources won't ever tell me things anymore. But it's a fight you guys will be excited for.
Yeah.
All right.
And I will say this. I was rooting. I know you kept pushing for it. Oh, nobody wants to fight Shakur. Just fight De Los Santos. Obviously, he had to go through the system with the WBC. And it does seem like Shakur is going to fight either Yoshino or Jermaine Ortiz. I think it's going to be Yoshino. I never got the sense that he's not going to take the fight, but there was a part of me that was kind of rooting. Maybe we turned this. I always said Shakurgovich, with the same thing with Filip Hrgović, where he's gone through the whole heavyweight division and went all the way down to Zhang Zhilei. So I was kind of hoping the same thing would benefit De Los Santos, because it is frustrating when you're the one guy who wants to fight somebody. Everyone else is saying no, but you got to wait all these people in line ahead of you.
Yeah, and I don't know if you follow De Los Santos on Instagram. There was like a 2-week period where he was just disrespecting Shakur Stevenson went live, and he was there typing in Spanish. Like, he's at your head, he's calling you out, he's writing, and you put a picture with your brother. Right. He's commenting, yo, I want to fight you and all that. Like, at some point, nobody else is doing that. Everybody's turning you down. This guy is on your head. There was like a 2-3 week period where every other post was about Shakur Stevenson. People were telling me, oh, come on, Broadway, you just saying that because he was no, that's the fight he wants. And based off how he's behaving on social media, I know the press conference is going to be entertaining, just the way he knows how to, and I think he knows how to get under Shakur's skin. It just seems he has done it a few times. Yeah. I think I would have loved that fight, but it looks like it's going to be Yoshino from Japan who's going to get the opportunity. Or, and I've heard, I spoke to Jermaine Ortiz people. They said if he turns it down, that they're for sure 100% taking the fight.
Yeah, and that's why I never gave De Los Santos a chance of getting it, because I knew, like I said, even if Mr. Honda decided he wanted to keep Yoshino, out of that level for one more fight, there was no way in hell. Jermaine Ortiz coming off the way he looked against Lomachenko, there's no way in hell he's not taking another big fight right after that.
Yeah, for sure. I know we're already in 2023. I wanted to talk about the fighter of the year and all these awards. I don't know if can you announce who you voted for or no?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right. So we'll start off with fighter of the year. The nominees on the Boxing Writers Association were Dimitri Bivol, Hector Luis Garcia, nominee Devin Haney, Naoya Inoue, Jesse Bam Rodriguez, and Kenshiro Teraji, who had a great year, by the way. Who was your pick and why?
I went with Bivol. He had the most spectacular win out of anyone, beating, anytime you beat the pound for pound guy, like even if you think Canelo's number 1, 2, 3, whatever, nobody else had as big of a win as as Dimitri Bivol did when he beat Canelo. Yeah, we could say Canelo's coming up in weight, whatever. Going in, Bivol was the underdog. The fight was nowhere near as close as the three judges had it. Most people I know had it 8-4, 9-3. There was no doubt whatsoever at the end of the night that Bivol won the biggest, probably the biggest fight of 2022. And then everyone did expect him to beat Zulo Ramirez. I was hoping it would be more competitive, but he made that look so easy. And again, anytime you beat an undefeated former champion and you couple that with beating bumping off the pound for pound guy, that's in a year like 2022 where guys are only fighting twice. I know Bam fought 3 times, but years like that's like it becomes a no-brainer. I was holding out until I said if Chocolatito beat Juan Estrada, then he will have had the Estrada win and Julio Cesar Martinez, where I felt like that was the only one who had a case. But Estrada repeating against Chocolatito in a fight like that after not getting an impressive win before that kind of took him out the mix. So that's why I go with Bivol. But again, you mentioned Taraji. He overcame his only loss, smoked that guy, and then annihilated Kayaguchi in what was supposed to be a 50-50 fight.
Yeah.
Even in the Boxing Scene Awards, I added Jermell Charlo only because every year we've been naming guys who become undisputed champion. And Jermell Charlo, he only had that one fight. It's unfortunate. I wish he had a second fight because then he would have easily made the ballot.
Yeah.
But, again, people thought, even if you thought he lost the Castaño fight, he came back and made the adjustments that he did. He proved that he's, the best, without a doubt, at 154. In my opinion, an all-time great at 154. Like, you make a list of the best, maybe even 5 fighters all-time at that weight. I think he's on it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I don't think I'm not against that. He definitely has knocked out a bunch of fighters, knocked out Jason Rosario, Castaño, Tony Harrison. He's getting guys out of there. You know what I'm saying? So you definitely got to give him full credit.
Yeah, but all those guys absolutely. We even said it like when we had our BWA meeting when we named it, like coming up with this list. It's like it's a very strong list. Like it was weird. It's like it wasn't a dominant year, but like this list of like fighter of the year, they all had massive,
yeah.
Years.
But my pick actually was Bam Rodriguez. Yeah. Although Bivol for sure and Taraji, he had a great year. Taraji, those three, I want to say were the ones who had if you want to make a top 3, you can jumble those around how you like it. I think those are the top 3. But I had Bam Rodriguez. He beat Quadras off short notice, dropped him, then went on to stop SSR.
Yep.
And then had a third fight, which
Israel Gonzalez.
Yeah, with Israel Gonzalez, who's also a good fighter.
Yep.
I didn't think he looked that great in that fight, but he still got the W.
Right.
I had to give it to him, man, considering what's at stake, moving up in weight and doing this as opposed to Bivol. And I'm not taking credit away from it. I'm just saying if we're comparing wins to wins, Bivol was fighting somebody who's moving up in weight when Bam was the one moving up in weight
on 6 days notice, no less.
Yeah. So I kind of favor Bam, but I'm not mad at you for picking Bivol.
Bam got a lot of love, and I like it. In an era of guys who could tend to only fight once or twice, you want to reward and especially encourage the guys who want to be that active. And it was weird going into that fight with Gonzalez on the Canelo Triple G undercard. There was talks that Bam was going to come back on the Estrada Chocolatito card. He was going to fight a 4th time. If he did, I probably would have picked him.
For sure.
Still, whoever he would have fought, anyone who's any champion fighting 4 times in this era, that should be a no-brainer. But
yeah, I see. I didn't even hear that he was going to fight a 4th time. That would have been super impressive.
But obviously, to your point, the way he looked in that 3rd fight, he looked good. But I mean, by Bam standards, he didn't look great.
Yeah.
So it was smart that he decided to take off the rest of the year. He needs to get back in the gym. He's I joked with Joshua about that, of like how Joshua could be out of the ring for 16 months. Bam is as active as he is. And yet Joshua's the one who always looks like he's going to fight. And Bam looks like he's going to barbecue. But he'll drop that in a bit. And I think, he'll be on the list of 2023 candidates, especially if Matchroom is able to do this flyweight tournament that they want. I just reported last night he's going to be fighting Christian Gonzalez. I thought it was going to be March. Now it's going to be April 8th. But they're trying to create this tournament to where a lot of people are saying it's going to be him and Sonny Edwards in the end, hopefully fight for the undisputed. And that's winner of a fight like that is going to be, and very high in the conversation for fighter of the year.
No, I definitely agree with that. So next award we're gonna talk about is fight of the year. Though the nominees were Jermell Charlo over Brian Castaño, Sebastian Fundora versus Eric Salubin, Joe Joyce versus Joe Parker, Noshinga Flores, Opeyata versus Brady's, and Lee Wood versus Michael Conlon. I was a little disappointed Puello versus Akhmadov wasn't on it. And not even being biased, that was a great fight. Like that was a lot of violence happened in that fight. Both fighters got touched up pretty good. I was a little disappointed, but that wasn't one of the nominees. But which fight did you pick for fighter?
This is going to sound cowardly. I had actually two different picks. With boxing scene, my vote went towards Fundora and Lubin. But then by the time I cast my BWA vote, I have it backwards. With boxing scene, I picked Wood Conlon, which we went with as our fight of the year. With the BWA, I wound up picking Fundora Lubin. Fundora Lubin was my pick all year long. Like even like going in the first half of the year when we were talking about Fundora Lubin, we were talking about Wood Conlon and Charlo Castaño. My problem with Charlo Castaño, I fought for the first 6 rounds. That was like, man, this is the best fight of 2022. And then just Charlo taking over the way he did in the second half kind of, to me, took away from that. It lent more to the brilliant performance that Jamel Charlo gave than the fight being like the best fight of the year. I went back and watched both, and that's why I kind of lean towards I'm going to go with Wood. I'm going to go with Wood Conlon. I think the WA vote, I did vote Fundora Lubin, but I think Wood Conlon was just
that was a great fight.
49.9. It's like you really can't split the difference between the two.
For sure.
But I will say this, and I argued this with the BWAA. We wound up creating a women's fight of the year. I know we talked about it on the show last week.
Yeah.
Me, Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, the best fight of the year, the best event of the year. Like, I don't care male or female. It's like, I said this, like, I get fighter of the year separating men and women. But as far as the fights, they fight on the same shows. You're watching, two people just get in there and fight. To me, that was the best fight of the year. But as far as it goes, to me, it was like a really strong top 3 between Wood Conlon, Fundora Lubin, and Nanshinga and Hector Flores. It was like
that was a great fight.
All 3 of those seem to be like they've gotten the top pick among pretty much any outlet, and there's no bad pick among those 3.
Yeah, but by the way, you did change my mind about having voting for women in fight of the year because, like you said, it's a fight. Yep. Now, fighter of the year, prospect of the year, this of the year. I'm against that just because the rules are different. You get what I'm saying? Also, it's not like when we talk about pound for pound fighters, we don't go, oh, I got Canelo number 1 and I got Clarissa Shields number 2. We don't do that. So it's just like, it's a separate sport. Yeah. They fight 10 rounds, the men fight 12. They fight 2-minute rounds, the men fight 3. So I just think there's a lot of differences and obviously a difference in sex. So I don't like, but fight of the year, you changed my mind on that. I'm not going to mind when, as far as that, but my fight of the year was Fundora versus Lubin, but Nanshinga Flores was a very close second for me. Yeah. The only reason I kind of went with Lubin Fundora is because I feel like they hurt each other more. You know what I'm saying? Nanshinga Flores was kind of more of just an ongoing brawl. Yep. Nobody really got like hurt to the point where you're like, whoa, he may be out of there, where it's like but fantastic fight. So the next award we're going to talk about is trainer of the year. Mm-hmm. We have Bill Haney, Derek James, Gennady Mashinov, Colin Nathan, and my man Bob Santos. Yep. So why is Bob Santos? No, I'm joking. Who was your choice for trainer of the year?
I'm with you. I was so glad that Bob, the year that he had, did not go ignored. I wanted to pick him. You just cannot pick against Derek James this year. I mean, his best 3 guys went 5-0. I know that the 17th fight is a night you'd like to forget, but that Frank Martin just cemented a fantastic. He looked so good that night. It's like you can even say that he's the prospect of the year because he's a legit lightweight contender after that fight. Yeah. So glad that Derek has joined with him. Errol Spence coming back and unifying 3 titles. Jamel locking up 154 pounds. That's, to me, that one was as great as a year as Bob had. There's going to be room for him to have a bigger year. Derek James, he should have gotten this award probably at least once or twice before. I'm glad that he's going. He should get it this year, I should say. Yeah. I don't know how the votes are going. I thought he should have got it 2 years ago and he didn't. But
yeah, I remember they gave it to T.O.'s dad one year.
Right. Yeah, that was absurd. That was really his dad wasn't even the best trainer on Teo's team.
Right, Joey Gamache.
Yeah, right. So.
Right. No, listen, y'all know I'm biased. I love Bob. Me and Bob got a great relationship. He trains all the Dominicans. I think it's going to be hard for him to win I think he would have. I think he would have won it had Michelle Rivera beat what's his name Frank Martin. Because I think with the amount of upsets that Bob had this year, I think that would have tipped him over. But it makes it so difficult when literally this guy had an undisputed fight under his belt, a 3-belt unification under his belt, and then a fight that was looked at as a 50-50 fight to end the year, where he completely dominated and dropped Michelle Rivera.
Right.
So I understand why you voted that way. But fingers crossed, my man Bob Santos gets that W.
Well, and I will say this too, because we talked about it too, that Rosa and the Armstrong, that was supposed to be on the December 17th card. They thought, they can get the Armstrong over here in time. If that fight happened on the card and Eric Rosa won, there you go. That strengthens.
No, that to me, if that happened, he would have solidified it. Exactly. Even with the performance Martin had, to me, that he would have solidified it.
Huh.
But I'm not going to talk about manager of the year, because I don't know none of these guys. Good guy of the years, I really don't care.
Right.
I want to talk about this because this is something I'm actually disappointed as the nominees is the Saab Taub Award Excellence in Broadcast Journalism.
Right.
The nominees are David Dinkins, Jim Gray, Dave Harmon, Mauro Ronaldo, and James Smitty Smith. I'm very disappointed that there's not enough YouTubers on it. Like I feel like we get overlooked, and half of these motherfuckers are employees. Like they're not. What does Jim Gray do that I don't? Listen, I can make an argument that I deserve it over Jim Gray. I don't have the numbers necessarily,
right?
But the amount of content, the amount of people I interviewed, the amount of exclusive, the news I be breaking. And again, I don't think I have the numbers to justify me being on it. But somebody like a Sean Zettel should be on it.
Yep.
Somebody like I can't think of but Sean Zettel's a good nominee. I don't like this list, to be honest. What is Mauro Ronaldo doing on it? I don't understand it. He's just an announcer for Showtime. I'm not saying he does a bad job. I actually like what Jim Gray and Mauro Ronaldo do, but I don't think these dudes move the needles as much as people think. So who chooses the nominees, and how come no YouTubers are on there?
Okay, so I'm gonna provide some insight into our meeting. It did come up. Joe Santoliquito is our president. He was the one that actually brought it up. That we're trying to figure out a way to bring guys like yourself, Sean Zettel, guys who don't necessarily write, they should be a member of this organization. So now we have photographers that are affiliated with the BWA. It's time to bring podcasters on board as well. So, and I'm with you. So this award, especially this year's nominee process, really confirmed that this is more of like a lifetime achievement award. It's not guys who had the best year, because I personally nominated Corey Erdman, who I think is the best lead announcer in the sport. Whether he fills in or he just takes the lead on ESPN Plus, like I think of just guys who are calling a fight on Fight Night. I thought he had a phenomenal year, and he had a couple of good calls, but he has. But they made it very clear they want to vote for guys who like kind of at the end of their career, once they win it, they never make it back to the ballot. Like you're not going to keep winning this award over and over. So it's basically like a lifetime achievement. That's why we're seeing guys like that. My vote, I went to Dave Harmon, who's a producer. He did a lot of stuff with HBO and HBO pay-per-view. He does stuff with The Zone. He does stuff with Fight TV. He was my producer for the 2020 Olympics, for Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where this award goes. There's a lot of awards where we even said okay, now we're creating a women's fighter, fight of the year. We had women's fighter of the year. Now we have women's fight of the year. And Dan Raphael actually brought this up too. He said, well, if we're going to create a category, maybe we start getting rid of some of these other ones that are really kind of vague, because, to your point, nobody's understanding is well, what's the point of a broadcast journalism award? It's not going to the best announcer of the year. It's, just going to someone's body of work. So that's the nominations that we got.
Yeah. Or even just YouTuber of the year or something, podcaster of the year.
Yeah.
Cause listen, I put in a lot of work last year, a lot. And again, I'm not even, let me not use myself, because it may seem like I should be nominated. I don't have the numbers to be justified me being nominated. I clearly understand, but this dude's out here putting in that pounding that pavement, and I look at some of these names and I'm like, some of these names don't even move the needle like how other names do in the boxing world. Some of these people don't have the connections that we do.
Right.
So it struck me a little bit. I wanted to ask you about that, but I'm glad that there's conversations happening as far as
so Sean Tatel is like the one. He approached me a couple of years ago and asked how he goes about applying for the BWA since he doesn't. I'm like, that's a good, and his argument, and I agree with that. I've presented this numerous times. No, he's not writing stories, but he's providing the content for guys like me, guys like Keith Heidick, a lot of other writers. He's providing this content to where we can write off it. So that's part of journalism.
No, I agree. And when you send him the link or where to apply, send me it too.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we do. We need to, like I said, we need to catch. I was talking about this just today. We need to catch up with the times. There's just a lot of old white guys in this organization, and they think like a bunch of old white guys, and we got to get out of that.
Yeah,
this stuff in the 20s,
including those broadcast journalism nominees.
Right.
I wanted to ask you that last award question is: who's your prospect of the year?
I struggle with this category so much. I personally picked Austin Ammo Williams. I try to pick a guy. So he had 4 wins, 5 in a span of 53 weeks, if you go back to last December. But for 2022, 4 wins. And I try to pick a guy where his final fight of the year, that the next step is going to be moving towards contention. He had 4 prospect level fights this year, and his next fight is going to be Felix Cash. That's clearly the direction that he's moving towards, becoming a middleweight contender. So I picked him. A lot of people picked Keyshawn Davis. I think, this is the problem. Like last year with Boxing Scene, we picked Jared Anderson, who I thought was going to be a good pick because I thought
that's who I picked as well.
Right, but he's still a prospect. Xander Zayas, they were arguing about, well, he should be a 2-time nominee. It's like, to me, it's a category, like it's a graduation category. It's like once you're named, once you're in that conversation, you should be already moving on towards like your next fight is going to put you on the path to becoming a contender.
Yeah.
And that's why, it was like with Jared Anderson last year, it's like, well, damn, he's still a prospect. He's still a prospect right now. And I don't know when he's going to move towards contender. But Ammo Williams, I felt like this was like the final phase of him being a prospect. With Keyshawn, I mean, he had the win over Burgos, which I think should lead towards him becoming a contender. But I could still see him having several more prospect fights. I can see Xander Zayas still having 2 or 3 more prospect fights. So the line has been really blurred. Again, with Frank Martin, he should be like, in the past, he probably would have been the prospect of the year, but he's a contender now.
He's a contender now, yeah.
Richardson Hitchens just told, I think it was Dan, as a matter of fact, Dan named a bunch of prospect. Hitchens like, I've been a contender for quite a while, man. Why am I on this list?
Yeah, no, I don't look at Hitchens. He doesn't. I think he's ranked in the IBF now, or something like that. Yeah, so he's definitely not a contender, and I'm glad he's with the Zone because the Zone doing a much better job of keeping him active. He's going to fight John Bowser. Yeah. But my pick, and it actually rings true to what your definition is. My pick is Raymond Muratalla. I'm really high on that kid.
Yep.
I feel like, I almost feel like I'm the only one that's like super high on him. When I bring him up, people go, yeah, he's good. He's good. I'm like, I don't know, man. To me, I'm all in on Raymond Muratalla. And he's taking a step up fight. I don't know if I think I have permission to talk about it. Do you know who he's going to fight next, right? No?
I thought I heard the name. Go ahead now.
All right. Well, I'm pretty sure I'm okay to talk about it. He's going to fight Jeremiah Nakatilia.
Okay, I did hear that. Yeah.
So like that's that. I think if you beat him, now you're a contender.
Absolutely.
So I think he fits your description, and that's my prospect of the year.
Okay.
I don't understand. I don't know. Maybe I'm seeing something that other people aren't. But to me, man, that guy is exciting. He's fast. He has skills. He has Robert Garcia in his corner. I'm very, very high on him. And me and Truth, Truth, we go back and forth. He's really high on Keyshawn Davis. I'm really high on Raymond Muratalla. I'm like, me and you, we're going to have a nice big bet. Once, because they both on top rank. Once they both get to the top and they face each other, I was like, me and you, we're going to have to bet on that because I love me some Raymond Muratalla. And that's who my prospect of the year is.
He did. He had a really, really, really strong year.
Yeah, but what's your opinion on him? Are you as high as
I am?
Him?
Yeah, I like it. It was weird. Like I don't think Top Rank was ever thinking of it, but his name came up as like, maybe he could fight Shakur. I'm like, let's, not throw him to the wolves. Yeah, let's get him to where they're fighting for a championship for a fight like that. So
Nakatilia is a good step up fight.
I'd probably pick him over someone like Jermaine Ortiz, to be honest, too.
Yeah. All right. I mean, I shout out to. I'm cool with Jermaine's camp. I can't do that. But I'll say this: I like both fighters, and I'm very, very high on Raymond Murataya. I'll answer it that way.
Yeah, look, you know me, I never pick against Puerto Rican fighters. I was rolling with Jermaine when he fought Joseph Adorno. I was rolling with Jermaine when he fought on Showbox last year and he won. I'm very big on him. I was glad he had the year he had. And I think that's a great progression fight. Like once Murataya beats, like you said, someone like Nakatiya, that's the progression fight.
Yeah, that's the progression. I believe Nakatiya is ranked like number 10 in the WBC. Yep. So if he beats him, he'll be ranked somewhere around there.
Right.
And Jermaine Ortiz, I believe, is ranked 7th.
Yes.
So they'll be close in ranking in the WBC. You fight each other. The winner, they moves up in those rankings. I look forward to if that's a fight that happens in 2023. That's a fight I look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a fight like these guys are going to start moving up. Like I said, Lomachenko is most likely going to fight Haney unless that completely falls apart for whatever reason, which I haven't gotten any indication it would. Stevenson's going to move up to the mandatory. Isak Cruz is going in another direction. Cepeda's already turned down a fight. Kambosos is not going to get back in the mix like that.
Yeah.
So Yoshino, if he takes a fight with Stevenson and loses, he'll drop down. So yeah, those guys, they have a chance to move up in a hurry if they take the right fights.
Yeah.
Top rank, like I said, if they believe in you, they're going to move you the right way.
No, yeah, and that's not even a fight I had in my mind. And so I like that fight. It's Murataya, although I believe he's only 16-0, 15 or 16-0. He's like 25 years old, so he's not a young puppy. So him getting in there with Jermaine Ortiz is it's about that time.
Right. I agree.
Yeah, for sure. All right, but Jake, thank you so much for your time, brother. I really appreciate you coming on, talking with me. Injured and all, you fought through.
Yeah.
Hopefully, our man Hector Luis Garcia and Bob Santos could pull off this upset this coming Saturday. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be there live. I know you won't, unfortunately.
So I don't know if I'm sorry if I can't plug this, but if anyone has
whatever you want.
Okay, if anyone hasn't ordered the fight yet, and I haven't revealed this yet, so it's going to be here first, then I'll say it on Twitter. If you have not ordered the fight yet, payperview.com. It's called ppv.com. You can order it through there. I will be hosting a live chat on that feed on Saturday night.
So everybody who wants to go and watch Jake, you're going to do like commentary over it?
No, just like a live chat on there. So
all right. So he's going to have a live chat. If you guys want to join him, he'll be on it. You'll be chatting away with the fans as well?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. 100%. So he'll be there chatting away, talking, answering questions the same way I was asking him questions. So anybody want to go do that, ppv.com. Yep. Definitely go support my man, Jake Donovan. Also follow him on Twitter, Jake and the box. How you say?
Yep,
Jake in the box. Jake in the box on Twitter. Follow him on Twitter. Also, he's a boxing scene writer. So please read his articles. He's one of the best. I'm gonna make him uncomfortable because he don't like when I compliment him. One of the best journalists in boxing right now, and a friend of mine as well. So definitely go support him and follow him on Twitter. Yep. Anything else you want to plug?
Congratulations on the Chicken Talk. That was a well-deserved award. And again, that just speaks to the monster year that you've had. And it's just, I'm thinking about, way back to the first time I was on your show, and then like just watching this channel blow up, like, especially, you peaked at the right time that, not peak, you're still peaking, but you blow up at the time when all these guys, the DR, that everyone stepped up, man, like looking for the next hero. Now we got a bunch. So,
it was weird how all this happened, kind of like, so at first I was just used to talk about all boxing, and then Hector Luis Garcia. I picked against Garcia, against Colbert.
Wow.
Yeah, and this is before I was the voice of Dominican boxing, and then I watched the Garcia fight with my father.
Yeah,
and we're like, and I was kind of rooting for Colbert only because Colbert's from Brooklyn. Right. I don't know him, but me and his trainer, we know a lot of the same people, and I've seen Colbert since he was like 12 years old. Running around in the gym. I've seen him fight in the amateurs. So I don't know him personally, but we know so many people in common. I was kind of rooting for him. And I was kind of conflicted, but I was like, whatever. Like, Colbert's going to win anyways. Like, I might as well root for the winner. He gets upset. I'm like, by like round 4, I'm like, let's go, Garcia. Let's go. He gets the upset. Yeah. Ezra calls me. I announced that I'm going to interview Garcia. I get in contact with Garcia's team. And I announced on Twitter, hey, man, I'm gonna interview Garcia.
Mhm.
And Ezra goes, man, you're the voice of Dominican boxing.
Yep.
And I was like, you know what? I'm a run with that. I like that nickname.
Yep.
And it's blown up for me. Now it's like,
Yeah.
I get first of all, I could get any Dominican I want to interview. I could get them on my channel, or I could find out whatever it is from them.
Yep.
And then I get like these obscure 3-0, 4-0, 5-0.
Happens.
4-2. I literally got one guy who was 1-1 DMing me, hey man, I'm Dominican, I want to be on your channel. And it's like, no, these people, they like these boxers, they look at me like royalty a little bit. No, you got like, that's the pinnacle. I don't know if you know Frenzy Fortunato.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I met him at the Garcia Gutierrez Pollo Ecuador fight. I met him there. He wanted me to interview him so bad. I'm like, bro. He's like, yo, I got to fight on Showtime. I'm on a ShowBox. And I was like, how about you get a win and then you come on my channel? I was like, bro, nobody knows you.
Yeah.
He's like, all right, I'm gonna get a win. You gave me your word. So he was like so motivated.
Right.
He wins. And I DM him. I'm like, congrats. And he's like, you owe me an interview. And I was like, yes, that's what I'm coming here. First, I wanted to come say congrats. So then I gave him an interview. So a lot of these dudes look at me like, oh, if I made it on Broadway's channel, I made it. And also another thing, they've been so like unsupported. The fact that they getting somebody like me who supports them, it's like, man, it like they go crazy. They like when I saw Michelle at the weigh-in, he knows I support him and interview him and do all that. But when he saw me there, he was like, "You came from New York for me?"
Right.
I was like, "Yeah, bro." I was like, "I'll go to the moon for a Dominican." Yo, he gave me a hug. He was like, "Yo, bro, I love you, man.
Yeah,
I love you." He was just ecstatic the fact that I just hopped on a plane just for him. So I'm realizing that my platform is a lot more important than whatever I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, absolutely. So I remember it was when Vivian Harris won. When he first won, it was like a secondary title, but I was right. You know, Jose Nunez is one of my best friends, and he was involved in his career. And then, but like once I interviewed him, then all of a sudden, like every Guyana fighter that lives in Brooklyn. Like also, I was interviewing Big Truck Braithwaite, interviewing the Frank family. So like I got, not that I'm Guyanese by any stretch.
No, I know what you mean.
But I became like their voice. It's like they all wanted to be, see their name on fightbeat.com, which is, I wrote for them back in the day. So it's cool, like seeing you go through like that same growth right now, man. It's amazing.
It's crazy. Like when I was on the Boxing Voice in July, Nesta was like, man, I apologize. I only got wind of you like 3-4 months ago. He said something like that, right? And I was like, bro, I only been at this for less than a year.
Right.
And he was like, what? He goes, I see so much content you put out. I'm like, yeah, man. I was like, I'm working. I have a video that I still haven't recorded. I'm about to record it. But I made a list of everybody who I interviewed. I'm not sure if you can see from here. I'll read it off.
Okay.
I interviewed Hector, Elvis, Michelle's dad, Michelle, Jermaine Ortiz's uncle, Herbert Conceição, Jonathan Guzman, Bejica Peña, Puello, Adames, De Los Santos, Bob Santos, Tevin Farmer, Michael Fox, Kenny Porter, Kenneth Sims, Elvis Rodriguez, his manager, the Dominican Olympic coach, Samson, Minnie Pac-Man, Luis Reynaldo Nunez, Blair Cobbs, an MMA fighter, Waldo Cortez, who's Dominican, Jason Rosario, Frenzy Fortunato, Tony Tineo, who's the manager of Nunez and De Los Santos. PBC wrote an article and quoted one of my videos, and I was on All Access. The WBA took a picture with me and Puello and Garcia holding the Dominican flag. They put it on their website. I'm like, yo, this is all in like a year and change.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I think I got something here. And I'm gonna be the number one guy. Like when it comes to boxing, and I'm right now, I'm at the bottom of the totem pole in terms of subscribers. Well, not the bottom, but I'm definitely low,
right?
And compared to these bigger platforms, but I'm gonna be the number one guy soon.
Yeah. And that's it. You have your niche, though. That's the important thing. That's people already. You're not just a YouTuber. You're like, I want you to go with boxing talk because I wanted to spread to the Boricuas as well. But you are. You're the voice. I mean, you've become the voice of Dominican boxing. That's the amazing thing. It's like no matter what your subscriber base is, like, okay, you want to know anything about any Dominican fighter, we're going to your channel first. So that's
no, for sure. That's why a lot of people go, oh, you're limiting yourself. And I'm like, no, not really. Like, do you have to be Dominican to watch a Michelle Rivera interview?
Right.
No, you want to know who he's going to fight next? Do you have to be Dominican to want to watch an Elvis Rodriguez or Carlos Adames interview? No. So a lot of people enjoy my content. Plus, I'm good looking. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm good looking. I'm a good talker. I know my boxing. So people fucking with the channel heavy, and exactly. I appreciate it. And I get people from all over. Yeah. But Jake, I kept you here long enough. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. Hopefully we'll do this again.
Absolutely, man. Always a pleasure, Joe. Thanks so much, man. Have fun this weekend.
For sure. Thank you so much. All right, guys. That's Jake Donovan. Go subscribe. Go follow him on Twitter, Jake in the Box. Hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Till next time, guys. Peace.